Too little, too late for the Guardians offense in Tampa Bay, but the Guardians are still playing meaningful baseball. How much that means, we'll talk about on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome on into another episode of Locked On Guardians. Guardians fans, thanks for being here with us. It's our favorite half hour of the day, win or lose, because we're talking about your Cleveland Guardians for the next half hour, from the majors to the minors and the draft and everything in between. And we do it every day on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team, your Cleveland Guardians, every single day. I'm Justin Lada, one of your two co-hosts. I've been here since October 2022, and I've spent 18 years covering the Guardians minor league system, providing scouting reports and prospect analysis.
That's a long time.
I'm old. Thank you.
I'm older than you. So what does that say about me?
So we're both.
Let me get my walker. I'll be right back. I'm Jeff Ellis. I've been here since the start of Locked On when it came to baseball. Before that, I was national writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects and the draft. I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. We're going to talk about minor leaguers today in segment 3. If you already subscribed to Justin's newsletter, you kind of know some of these guys are going to be talking about in some of those performances. And in terms of our everydayers, our Google Spotlight for this week, John Fagan, Lawrence Charles, Tim Metavillas, Tall Abe Lincoln, and Brian, MMA. We're the community spotlight via YouTube. So thank you all.
Yeah, appreciate y'all making the time to listen and comment. Yeah, we'll go around the farm in segment 3 today. We'll talk about some of the most fun prospects we followed this year as Lake County and Lynchburg are winding down, although it looks like they're both going to be in the playoffs. So no, Lynchburg is, Lake County getting awfully close. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about the importance of playing in meaningful games in September, whether or not you're close or not to the playoffs, but we'll talk about this Guardians game first, where the offense showed up a little bit too late, despite, a solid approach, I would say. Before we dive into all that, today's episode of Locked On Guardians brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit the number 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. The Guardians did make Ryan Pepiot work pretty hard, I will say. I watched that. Stephen Kwan had, I think, 11 pitch at bat to start the game. Late in the game, Angel Martinez even had a nice long at bat. Jose had a couple nice at bats in this one. He also homered, which was good to see. So they had Ryan Pepiot knocked out in the 5th inning, which, not really shocked. I don't think he's necessarily a guy that goes a lot deep, which the Rays just don't do in general.
Though. Like...
He did have a no-hitter. Yeah, it was literally Kyle Manzardo had a hit by pitch and a walk, and I think he walked CJ Kayfus. Was that who walked? And then
no, I don't think they're. Let me look. Who had the was
Pepiot walked 2 guys.
Yeah, I have it. No, he just walked the one. It was the hit by batter, and then just the 2.
No, he walked 2. He walked Kayfus.
Yeah, it was Kayfus. Sorry.
Yeah, so they had a decent, I would say, some decent at bats off him. Nothing to show for it. Here's the thing. He only allowed 2 hard hit balls all night. So even though their bats were decent, they weren't hitting the ball hard off him. So he dominated them all night long. Not really a shock with the way that he throws his fastball and changeup. That's a combination for a nightmare for this Guardians offense. So it's not really a surprise that the offense showed up late against Pete Fairbanks, who has kind of come close to being a Trevor Hoffman against Trevor Hoffman. Troy Percival off the Guardians late in his career. I guess it was nice to see Jose homer, Manzardo homer, but
hadn't done it since Arizona. That's the last time he had homer in the game.
Yeah, his approach was good tonight. I bet it's the story of the season for the Guardians. They show up a little bit too late to do anything meaningful, which has been the story of their offense this year, and it's been the story of their entire season because we're September and they're floating around 500.
Yeah, it was, when you're watching this game, it's just frustrating because they're not, they're getting no hit into the 5th. Manzardo with a heck of a game. He always likes to make Tampa regret that trade. Watching this game, it just made me think too of like, I know everyone gets mad, and like I said, rightfully for Yandy, and even to a degree, rightfully with Caminero, but I still stand that Yandy is the bigger swing and miss because he was the developed hitter. But also just watching this game, it's like, I wonder how many Dodgers fans are really annoyed about Glass now for Pepiot now. Like, remember when everyone was like, oh, it's a terrible trade? And it's like, I feel like Glasnow just has continued to not pitch. Like, it's the weird situation. Like, just don't trade with Tampa, one would say, but at the same time, one can argue that Cleveland won the last war with Tampa when it is getting Manzardo. It's like that's worked out for them. But yeah, watching this game, I think my biggest annoyance points came. So I know in the fifth, it was a 1-2-3 inning, but you had the review on the home run or on the foul ball that they thought was a home run, and it was just with no foul pole. It was hard to overcome and say what it was. Either way, and they were just smacking everything Logan Allen was throwing. So I was like, I don't know if I want him out there in the sixth. It feels like the sixth inning has been a bugaboo inning for this team all year. I know he went through the heart of the order. He was, I want to say, in the high 80s for pitches. So like, I got it, but I was also like, and then, my general rule at the sixth inning is have someone up at the start. So like, after the first guy reaches base, you go and get someone else. Like, having two, it's so hard. And you and I had a great discussion off air about Matt Fester, where it's like, Matt Festa's stats pretty much across the board are average. Like, if he was asked to be a fifth, sixth inning guy, he'd be fine. He's miscast in this fireman's role, and asking Matt Festa to go out there with two runners on and nobody out, this is what's going to happen. It's just unfortunate, and it's again the trickle down effect from Class A, just screwing the team and screwing his teammates. Maybe I shouldn't say it that harshly, but like that's the trickle down effect. That's
exactly right.
Like
I don't think you can put it any better than that.
He was dumb and he was selfish. If allegations are true, I guess I have to caveat it. But like, if allegations were true, it's dumb because it's micro betting, so he was never going to make the money he would as a future Hall of Fame reliever. He would have made $20+ million on the open market when that contract was up. And then it's selfish because it's a risk if you get caught that your teammates are going to suffer for. So it's in a year ago situation, that's Cade Smith, and maybe they end up 100%. And then those two home runs in the ninth, it's a tie game. Like, that's, again, it's that feeling the Class A effect. I know by WAR it'll be like it only cost a team like 3 wins, but it feels like it's been a lot more than 3 wins that Class A has cost this team this year. And I'm beating the dead horse because it deserves to be beat, because just it's a jerk move like on every level, and the team's feeling it. And then I had some issues in the 7th inning when, arguably the best reliever Tampa has, their lowest ERA reliever, he's a lefty. So they send out all their bad right-handed bats, guys who have not been hitting. I know Fry had the home run, but he still hasn't been hitting for the month outside of that game. Martinez has been in a huge slump. And the bigger problem is, and Noel hasn't had a good at-bat since the good game.
He had 3 hits the other day, but he hasn't done anything since.
Yeah, sure. Since the good game, he hasn't done it.
And his at bat in this game was typical Noel. He swung at 1 foul. He fouled off 1 strike and then swung at 2 balls.
Yeah. And he had 5 at bats yesterday, and 2 were passable and 3 were terrible. But and then by doing that, it sets it up. So in the 9th, you had a home run, you get another home run. Fairbanks is shaky. Martinez has been the worst hitter on the team for the last month, and his
at bat was good at least.
It was a good at bat, but he shouldn't be out there in an ideal situation. It was a good at bat, and then he swung at ball 4 on pitch 9 and pitch 10. Yeah. So it's that situation, by going early against a guy that these guys aren't going to have success about, then it leaves you no leeway. It doesn't leave you a pathway. You're stuck. And
you took your shot earlier.
Yeah. And these aren't guys who are worth taking the shot with. Like, it's probably better to have a little more flexibility or wait till someone's on base. Like, and maybe no one gets on base, but like, it seems silly of all situations to go after that reliever on this team.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, that's the biggest issue for the Guardians this year. They haven't been lefty killers. Like, you don't have David Fry like you did a year ago. You don't have Lane Thomas. Noel hasn't existed most of the year. Jose has crushed lefties. But he's been in a slump until he hit that home run off of Fairbanks. And then Martinez has hit lefties well, but his at-bats of late have just been so god-awful that he's almost unplayable. So you just don't have that element to your team that you had a year ago, and you don't have anybody to solve that right now, which is unfortunate. I'll also kind of bring up some of the weirdness of those moves in our next segment. We talk about the importance of playing meaningful baseball in the month of September, coming up in the next edition or next segment of Locked On Guardians.
He's only go for the toothpick there. Do you need a boost? to power through the day without reaching for another cup of coffee or an energy drink. I am not an energy drink person myself, so this is why I love this product. That's where Zippix caffeine toothpicks come in. Instead of the crash you get from sugary drinks or the shakes you get from them, Zippix gives you a clean, convenient burst of caffeine anytime, anywhere. And if you're looking for nicotine satisfaction, they also have that covered. So I tried it out today. Here's the thing. First week of school as a teacher, I almost fell asleep while playing my Steam Deck. I gave myself like 30 minutes to play. The kid was working on an art project, and I almost fell asleep. So I got the toothpick, and I woke up, got to continue playing my game, enjoyed it. That's what I liked about Zippix. It was a nice, quick boost. Didn't leave me jittery like an energy drink would. It was just and I'm like, hey, I got to try a new product. It was great. It helped me stay awake, even after not a lot of sleep in the first week of teaching. Ready to try them? Go to zippixtoothpicks.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. That's zippixtoothpicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Zippix Toothpick, energy and focus anytime you need it.
Thank you for being here with us on Locked On Guardians. Make sure you're auto-downloading on all of your audio platforms so you never miss an episode. It's the easiest way to help us out, and make sure that you're staying up to date on the latest Guardians news, whether it's the Major League team or the minors, which we'll talk about in today's show. And of course, you can hit the bell on YouTube. That also makes sure that you get our reaction videos, any breaking news videos every episode, and bonus content like the MLB Squad Show, which will be back next week. So lots of fun stuff to go to there.
Just to interrupt you for 1 second. For anyone watching, always. I don't want our new sponsor to get upset. I made a sad face at the end because my ad read went too long. That was not a reflection of the sponsor. I just made a disappointed face at the end of the ad read, which I should never do, because I was like, oh, I went over what I was trying to hit. That was disappointment in myself. I just want to say that there.
A little behind the scenes there for you, trying to make this all the magic come together on the podcast. So some of the things I had an issue with in that inning, we were talking about pinch hitting in the seventh inning of guys that just aren't getting it done this year. Like I continue to advocate for David Fry only out of the fact that I want him to get back. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star again, obviously, because I think we know what he did against right-handers last year was unsustainable, and maybe even the lefties to some extent.
If he can be a two-man's Rayburn, that's huge value.
Especially with his defensive versatility, yes. So I continue to advocate that he needs to play only for the fact that you've got to figure out a way to get him back to some semblance of what he did a year ago, because he does carry value on this team, hitting lefties, being able to catch, play first, maybe some outfield next year. So you'd like to have him going to the offseason, shaking off this mess of a year. So that's something I would advocate for that. But the things with, like you said, with Martinez and Noel, Martinez isn't like done as far as a prospect or development. Like he's got one full season of data now. If you look at his games played in at bats, and that's often not enough to tell anything a player, especially when those are chopped up over 2 seasons. So I'm not saying I'm done with Martinez, but man, his at bat today was good, so that's great. But overall, his at bats are generally pretty poor. And then Noel, it is the same case for Noel, that I don't think he even has a full season Major League at bats, but his approach is even worse than Martinez. And I'm ready for guys like Kayfus to get. I've been saying that I'm more ready for Kayfus.
Hitting for Kayfus.
I agree. He's got to play. Like again, his numbers have not been great either. He had a good day the other day, but he had a walk in this one. But overall, this is a guy that you're looking towards 2026, and this is again where the Guardians have to balance the good and evil isn't the right word, but the serving two masters here is that you're trying to win this game and you're also trying to develop at the same time. So you're pinch hitting Noel, thinking you're going to run into a home run, and Kayfus can't hit lefties, even though Kayfus hit lefties in AAA just fine, and you got to figure out if he can do it in the majors. I don't have a problem pinch hitting for Bo Naylor in general because he's not a good hitter, but we figured that out at this point. It's just they don't have good options to go to. Like you were saying off air, like I would rather see Naylor than Martinez in that at bat in the 9th inning. I definitely agree with that.
But it's not into a walk. That's all.
Yeah, that's about it. You're not really picking between two good options there. You're picking between two bad ones. But all that is to say, Jeff, that I want CJ Kayfus batting late in the game against lefties in the 9th inning when you're trying to make a comeback, because you're playing meaningful baseball. I know some people look at the standings and say, well, they're 3.5 or 4 out of a wild card spot. Is that really meaningful? It is to the team because they're not eliminated. They're not the Twins. They're not the Orioles. They're certainly not the Angels or the White Sox or the Rockies. So even though the odds of going to the playoffs this year are slim, and even if you got in, I don't know what this team would even do, to be honest. It may not even be worth it, the squeeze to do it. But I want guys like Manzardo, like CJ Kayfus, whoever else, that's on this team, Valera, Rocchio. I want these guys playing meaningful baseball late in games, late in the season, because that's part of how you finish off development. And let's be very honest, the Guardians don't really place a lot of importance on winning at the minor league level. They've shown that. They've said that in not so many words. It's a nice bonus, but at the major league level, winning is all that matters. And that's the last phase of development is playing meaningful baseball and getting used to the pressure and trying to chase down a playoff spot. So you need guys like Manzardo and like Kayfus and whoever else is on this team to be having important at bats in the 7th, 8th, and the 9th inning while you're still trying to chase a playoff spot. Because otherwise, you could maybe leave them out there and say, well, we're not making the playoffs, so they can just do it. But you should be doing it regardless, if I'm being honest. That way you could say, well, we're trying to win this year and also trying to develop for the future, because that kind of serves both needs, does it not?
Yeah, and the thing too, I will say, is my experience covering them is they put a lot of value though in postseason experience, even in the minor league level, getting players in those environments and seeing players play. Like that always was something that came up when I covered them. Maybe it's been a while since it's in the minors, but that was something they always tended to like. But it's never going to compare, of course, to the major league level. So yeah, you want to have them in leverage. You want to have them, getting these opportunities, because that's, for as much as people do like to complain about the lack of development, I think the bigger issue in terms of the team is just like the fact that they have not served two masters well, as you put it, like that they have not, been able to see.
That's a great term, but yeah,
it's not. But it's like seeing Yandy. Like again, Junior Caminero was so young, they didn't develop him, but they developed Yandy. He came through the system, was successful. He found success elsewhere. Ernie Clement, Alex Call is being a big part of the Dodgers. Like they actually have developed a bunch of hitters. He had a 120 WRC plus last time I looked. Maybe it's down.
It's way down since then, but go ahead.
Is it down? It was about 2 weeks ago. So maybe that's not someone. But it's the weird situation where some of these guys just never got Yandy and Call and Clement and get looks because they couldn't find spots for him. And it's right now is a time where you are probably not going to make the postseason. Let's be honest. So now is the perfect time to see what you got. Like give these guys the opportunities, give them the looks, because we've been very spoiled. Like this team, outside of what was it, like why am I having brain cramps, outside of like 23, really has been in contention all the way to the end of the season. Just about
was not good.
Was that the other one? But it's like, okay, so we got like 2 years in the last 2 years in the last 10 where they haven't been there. So and when you haven't been there, then you don't have that chance always to see the young guys. So right now, hey, go for it. I'm not saying throw in the towel. I'm not saying give up. I'm still rooting for postseason, but like they do very much need to see what the guys who can contribute can do. And again, I want to be wrong on Noel, but that profile just has not been successful in baseball. It's the same thing with Martinez. Like he's fun when he's on, but it's a profile that's not typically successful. And this team has bet on too many unicorns, and occasionally it's worked out, but still a low hit percentage. So
I wouldn't even say occasionally. I would say it's been like 1%. Like you have Quan and Jose, but Quan's not, or those guys aren't aggressive hitters. They're better than that. So, but those are the high contact guys that have worked out for them that they were heavy on for a while. And now the rest of those high contact guys like Tyler Freeman aren't here, or they just haven't really worked out. And I think Freeman's come back to earth in Colorado.
Yeah. He's got you made it WRC plus right now. Last time I checked.
That. So everybody loses that. Everybody's lost that trade. Speaking of prioritizing winning or not winning into minor leagues, we're going to talk about the minor leagues next. So we'll have a bit of a more discussion on the Guardians' choices in the minor league level. But we'll also talk about some of the most fun players to follow this season as A-ball starts to wind down at the playoffs. So that's coming up next here on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. If you ever hit the golf links, you need to fuel up with 5-hour energy transfusion. Grape, ginger, lime flavored shots. That brings you the iconic taste of a golf course with a favorite non-alcoholic boost. It's perfect for sinking birdies, making good memories with friends, and it's a hole-in-one for having high energy on the golf course. I got to tell you, I don't know if there's any drink out there that's going to make me a good golfer at all. But if I'm going to be out there, I want something good. It's going to make me feel good and give me energy to go out and play and at least try to have a little bit of fun. And that's what 5 Hour Energy is going to do. Transfusion. It's delivering that clubhouse flavor you love without leaving the green. You're not trying to chase down the bev cart, all that kind of stuff. And it's going to get you through the day because we know golf is all about the good times with good people and good flavors, no matter how good or bad of a golfer you are. Grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best part of that clubhouse. You don't have to leave the course. You don't have to chase down the bev cart. And now you can amp up the fun even more. Buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the U.S. Tee up that trip now. Visit the number 5HEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. All right, so the Guardians, I know, Jeff, you were saying that the Guardians used to prioritize postseason experience in the minors, and that's not saying they don't now. I'm saying their main goal is not to make the playoffs every season. I mean, I guess they are, but they're not running guys out there in the minors with the ultimate prize being a championship. They are still out there to develop players.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just like they would move guys up and down if they made the postseason. Like the goal wasn't the postseason, but if they made the postseason, they like to get the players that experience. I should clarify. So that's my
that is still the case. Yes, when the playoffs are happening for certain teams, like I don't know, Lynchburg and Lake County are both going to make the playoffs. I think Lake County needs one more win. Lynchburg already clinched in the first half, so I don't think you'll see any movement there. Akron's not going to make it. Columbus, I don't even know. I think they're not making it either. So there probably won't be a lot of movement. But you're right. In the past, they have moved guys who are close to another level to help out with the playoffs. So that's always important to them. But yeah, when you go out in April and you start the season, they're not sitting there making up their development plans and playing time and saying, we have to make the playoffs as a minor league. There are some organizations, I will tell you this, there are some organizations that do want to help out their affiliates and make the playoffs. I know in the past, I don't know how it is now, but I know in the past, the Dodgers had a friendly relationship with Great Lakes, which is in their system in Michigan, and they would send certain players or like, remember way back in the day, Jerry Sands was like 24 or 25, and he was playing for the Great Lakes Loons, and when that Midwest League was low A and not high A, because they wanted to win and make the playoffs. And that's what the Guardians do. They do leave some guys lower than they should sometimes, but it's not because we're trying to make the playoffs. Like Parker Messick didn't stick around in Lake County because they were like, oh, you got to make the playoffs, so they need Parker Messick. It was other goofy stuff and lack of maybe opportunity somewhere else. But that's not the point. So, yeah, just to clarify, they do want to make the playoffs, but, yeah, they're not setting their development plans and playing time percentages to say – this group has to make the playoffs. Like that's not their outset goal. Yeah. All right. So speaking of that, Lynchburg, like I said, next week we'll play in the playoffs. This is their last regular season weekend. And same with Lake County. If they win one more game, they'll be in the playoffs as well. And we got to talk about, I think Jeff should start off with Joey Oakie once again. I think we mentioned him last week that he had 11 strikeouts in 5 innings and didn't allow a hit. He had 4 walks in that one. This time out, he struck out 11 in 5 innings once again, and allowed 1 hit, and this time only 1 walk. And if you listen to the broadcast at all, or my highlights that I clipped from last week's start in Lynchburg, the broadcasters talked about him throwing 95, 97. And it turns out this last start, he's been touching 99 and even 100. So Oakie's fastball has really ticked up, and the slider obviously is very good. I don't think there's a third pitch.
It's not a third pitch right now.
There's not a third pitch right now. But I will say that stuff is really exciting. And for a guy who was, admittedly pretty bad in Arizona this year, like we look at the box score sometimes, Jeff, you and I sitting here at night, we're like, just not a good night for Joey Oakie. He gets to Lynchburg and all of a sudden the light clicks. I don't know what it is, but I really wish Braylon Doughty was 100% right now, because Doughty and Oakie, man, as a back-to-back or just in the same rotation and the same week would just be utterly one of the most exciting things, and I hope we see both of them at Lake County next year.
He's a great athlete too, much like Doughty. Both smaller guys as right-handed pitchers, but it's like this team, and rightfully so. I mean, I've always said the most underrated thing about pitching is the athleticism needed, and I think that helps avoid injuries. The fastball and slider are absolutely dynamic, both plus offerings. If you can keep this up, we're talking like a 70 grade fastball and a 60 grade slider, and as long as he's healthy, the command and control are still a work in progress.
They're fringe,
but it's like you're talking an elite reliever with a chance for us, being an excellent starter. It's a wide range of outcomes. Again, he's like, isn't he 5'11"? Isn't he slightly sub 6 foot?
I think he's I think he's 6 foot. I think him and Doughty are both like 6 foot 6'1".
Yeah. So
they are on the smaller side.
And then the other thing with Oakie is, he's one of those guys that Iowa in his draft year had a really bad winter. He only got to throw a few times, and his high school coach kind of abused his arm. So there were some teams that cooled. But this is a guy that you and I both probably up through June thought was going to go in the top 35 picks. And I mean, they paid him like a second rounder. They gave him $2 million where they got him. But that's again, the value of, like, you can argue that getting the big haircut on Bazana allowed them to get Oakie. And it's stuff like that it's very important how they maneuvered in that draft. Because I'll tell you what, Oakie's moving up my list now that he's 2 games with just the other dominance and the velocity jump, which was not there in Arizona.
Yeah, even his draft year, we talked about going into the draft that his velocity had fallen off. Remember,
it was down.
He came into a senior year being a mid-90s guy, and then he ended his senior year being like 92, 93. So Cleveland clearly got him on a strength program. They got him on just more of a sustainable, and his arm slot's still very extreme and wide, which I think will contribute to his command issues overall. But, from day one, Jeff, you were saying, like, this is a guy who probably profiles better as a reliever long-term, but you're seeing why you would say that, because the stuff, like, shows you he could be a good reliever. Also, Braylon Doughty, I didn't realize this. I think you might have, but a guy who didn't pitch a lot as an amateur. He didn't start pitching, I think, until
junior year, right?
Yeah, so he's
like a catcher and shortstop his first year.
Yes.
That's what I want to say.
So he's new to pitching too, which, saves the wear and tear on your arm. Now, hopefully he's got some shoulder inflammation. He's not going to pitch again this year. The Guardians do say it's minor, then this is more precaution. We've heard that before, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully he's 100% coming into spring training, because, again, I think Oakie and Doughty at high A next year would be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
The other guy I got to say, too, that I just continue to marvel at, Jeff, is, Bazana had a walk-off home run, his first home run in AAA, which is great because he's been struggling. He had 3 singles and a home run, and he had a walk. He also took a called strikeout on a borderline pitch that he challenged and didn't get right, which, it is what it is. He's going to wait for that perfect pitch sometimes. So it's good to see him get things going. But Ralphy Velazquez, he had another, I don't think a good night tonight, but he had another double the other night. And since July 1st, Jeff, Ralphy Velazquez, we're going on 2 months, July, August, then, so two full months now. 340, 429, 622 for an OPS over 1,000, a 195 WRC plus. The BABIP's 354, but as you pointed out before, you want higher BABIPs as a hitter in the minors because it shows dominance. But the strikeout rate is at 13%, and the walk rate is at 12. Like, this guy has really figured it out and clicked. Like, I saw him last year in the second half in Lake County, and you saw the tools, but he was tired, he was worn down, he was hitting the ball the other way a lot, he was popping it up. This year, we're getting to September, and he's playing his best baseball, and it's all numbers that really get you excited. Like, this might be the Guardians, like, I don't know, I think he might be, if he's not now, he might be a top 5 prospect coming in the next year.
I mean, I don't think I can move him up because this all feels to spite me. I'm kidding. I mean, the other joke could be to call him a second round pick, because if you don't know, I know he was a first round pick. But if you know, you can comment below what I'm making a joke about. The thing I wonder about with him, honestly, is this the real Ralphie? Because is he fully healthy? Like last year, he was playing through injuries. Starting out this year, kind of being reacclimated after those injuries and a few other things. This might just be we have not seen healthy Ralphie till now. There is a chance that is what it is, and that's what kind of comes to mind with me. Can I throw out 3 quick names? We don't even have to go super deep on them. I want to start by giving a shout out to Cam Walty. He's got a really low FIP. I know he's at a older age for the level, but I love seeing walk rates under 2. Like to see him miss a few more bats, but I love the low walk rate and the low FIP for him. And he's doing it with a ridiculously high unlucky BABIP. So that's fun. But the two prospects that jump out to me, Bennett Thompson, who I've talked about a few times on the show, he moved up a level and is hitting even better. You just like to see a catcher who's hitting, because I don't know what that looks like at the major league level. Now, I'm not saying that Thompson's a great prospect. I'm not saying he's the future catcher, but I think he just bears to continue to watch. And again, monster BABIP, but that's a sign of quality contact. That's a sign of good contact rates. And then Nick Mitchell, who has just if not for Ralphie, we'd be talking about him as kind of the breakout hitter of the second half this year, I feel like.
Yeah, Mitchell's put up some good at bats. There's not a lot of power there, but he gets on base. He's got speed. He plays a good outfield. Probably more of a corner profile for Nick Mitchell, but does a lot of little things well. And I think he's a future fourth outfielder, but can show you why they targeted him in that trade. So I do like kind of what we're seeing from him. And I think you even called it. You said that he's a slow starter every year. And he was also coming off an injury in spring training, so that might explain it a little bit too. And we didn't even talk about this. Like Yorman Gomez is he's been one of my favorite follows this year too. We have to have this discussion next week, but Yorman Gomez probably is a guy you've got to roster in the offseason. The Guardians have been really impressed with him in terms of the work he's put in and the results from that work. So they've taken notice. Obviously, it's hard not to, but when you hear the Guardians talk about how impressed they've been with someone's work ethic and not the results, that generally gives you a good inclination of guys they feel pretty good about, because otherwise they might say, yeah, he's had a good season, and then they kind of move on. So you can kind of tell with how their tone and how deep they go on certain guys. And I also want to mention this too from last week before we get out of here, but Cal Steven had a start where he allowed, I don't know if I mentioned this on the air, but he allowed 6 runs in a third of an inning. The sun was very difficult Sunday in Richmond, and 2 balls fell in that should have been caught. And then he had 2 hard hit balls after that. And then a reliever came in and gave a home run runners on. So a lot of those were charged to him. He was fine otherwise. So I think it was just one of those days, and he'll be just fine. But yeah, I would like to go a little bit deeper. I'm sure we will. We come back on Monday, though. We will talk Guardians Rays series wrap up. I know Jeff's got some things he wants to talk about next week in terms of the 2026 roster and how wide open the books might be.
I want to thank you all for joining us, rating and reviewing, downloading. It helps. For those who are curious at home, Alex Call, a 114 WRC Plus and a 102 in August. I would still take Alex Call.
Yes, 100%.
I have to come back and tease. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tell us what minor league players you would like us to talk about. Guys, maybe we haven't mentioned. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.
Respect Ralphie.